Welcome to our On Topic podcast. If you're a person who wants to hear and diversify our knowledge on various topics, then you're definitely at the right place. In this bi-weekly podcast, we bring in various highly accomplished individuals from various backgrounds to highly valuable pieces of advice and nuggets of wisdom. So today, I'm Alma, and I'll be hosting today's topic on When Art Meets Technology, revolutionizing storytelling via immersive technology, with Yikai as our guest of honor. Before we dive into our topic with Yikai, please allow me to introduce first. Yikai, with a demonstrated history of working in the immersive technology and digital storytelling industry, is currently the creative project manager at MAITREE House, a creative digital studio based in Australia and Malaysia, working on projects across the Asia Pacific. Playing the role mentioned, his responsibilities include managing creative projects locally and internationally. He also supports the filming productions in Australia, often remotely from Malaysia. On top of his full-time job at MAITREE House, our guest speaker here is also a freelance illustrator outside of his working hours. Yikai is originally from an art and design background, majoring in illustration. He holds an illustration degree from the University of the West of England, United Kingdom. All right, then. So let's dive into our topic today with the first question. So, Yikai, right? If we were to put this in the perspective of a person who doesn't have a lot of background in digital storytelling, I would say the term immersive technology complicated and even intimidating to some, right? Understanding I myself am not coming from this background, I don't really know what exactly does immersive technology actually mean in this sense. So could you perhaps explain a little bit on what immersive technology is in more layman terms?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, for someone who is not from, from this sort of tech background or art background, even it could be quite a lot to take in, but you always hear that people talk about immersive tech and stuff like that. So I think to explain it in the most simple way and the easiest way to understand is that immersive tech is, for example, us using a technology device like your smartphone or an iPad, which most of us are already using in our everyday life. So by using that technology device to create a different space within the space around you, so within the 360 space around you. So yeah, that is basically, I think, the simplest way to explain it. And
awesome. Thanks, Yikai. Yep, go on.
yeah, so because immersive tech there are a lot of different types of immersive tech. So the three most mentioned one, the most common one, or I would say that you often hear about is VR, we call it virtual reality, we call it VR in short, and augmented reality, we call it AR, and also lastly, mixed reality, we call it XR. So yeah, those are the three main ones. And to further explain a bit on what I mentioned just now, with the whole tech device and creating different spaces and stuff. So what those immersive technology do is basically they extend the reality and create a new reality by using the space around you. So you can imagine it's sort of like a magic portal kind of thing. So yeah, and your device is that magic portal.
All right. So we know that immersive technology has revolutionized storytelling and elevated it to a whole new dimension. So Yikai, could you share a little bit of a brief history of how the incorporation of immersive technology into storytelling came to be?
Yeah, sure. So I think maybe it's good for me to start from like when this sort of so-called immersive tech was invented. And so AR and VR was invented way back in 1968 by this American computer scientist called his name is Ivan Sutherland. So where he invented this head mouthing device, and that acted like the window into the virtual world. So yeah, so it obviously it looks very different back then compared to what we have today. But to be honest, when I was sort of doing research for all these histories and how the whole immersive tech came to be kind of via Google or anything, so it actually surprised me. It actually surprised me, like we have that, so many decades ago. But
Yeah,
yeah,
I mean, when you mentioned it just now, I was so surprised. Since 1968, wow.
yeah. And to think about that, like it wasn't until recent years that more and more people are talking about that. But that aside, like I don't want to go into much detail because there are just so much. But basically, after 1968, it went through a lot of development and changes, and eventually became what it is today. So as for when exactly people started to incorporate all this immersive tech into storytelling, so I would say it is actually quite hard to trace that, because like for example, how that whole immersive tech was invented so many years ago, but we never really know about it. So I think it's the same with this case. In this case, so I think what I could share instead is like, what does it mean to incorporate immersive tech into storytelling? Right. So I'm quoting this sentence below from Forbes magazine. So basically, immersive storytelling can be defined as a technique that uses the latest technologies to create a compelling sense of presence. So it gives the audience the feeling of being there, right? So it is a very unique and impactful way of blending the reality and fiction in a way. Yeah.
All right, thanks, Yikai. I think the whole concept of AR and VR is definitely very booming these days. We put things like the metaverse, and a lot of companies are also trying to capitalize on AR and VR to really change the user experience for everyone. So understanding that right now there is such a huge buzz about both augmented reality and virtual reality in mainstream media, could you share with us on how does immersive technology capitalize on the latter two in delivering the user experiences it promises?
Okay, yeah. So if we are talking about AR and VR, I think first of all, the audience needs to like know the differences between them. So um, basically, so AR is where it overlays digital content into a real environment. So meaning if you are experiencing AR through your phone, you could still see the actual environment around you. Whereas for VR, you will need to use like a headset device, whatever headset it may be. But basically, you will need a device, and then with that device, you will go into this whole completely computerized space. So you can't see the actual space around you anymore. You would be just completely the space the digital space will replace your existing environment completely. So I think while having that in mind, I would say that people are definitely using. Sorry, people are definitely utilizing both AR and VR to tell story digitally, but it really depends on the types of stories that you wish to tell, right? So I think personally, I think that every story is different, and it is always about finding the best and most suitable medium to tell it, so that the audience could really relate to and experience or understand the things, the message you wish to convey in your story. So the technology defines how the message or the story is being told, and how the audience will react and while they experience it. So yeah, I think it's just like I mentioned just now, while there's no fixed recipe or fixed certain way to make certain story interesting and make it immersive in a way. So there are many ways that you could make use of and utilizing immersive tech, whether it's AR, it's VR, or even mixed reality XR, to evoke the emotions and imagination of the audience, and make it a really like truly unforgettable immersive storytelling experience.
All right, thanks, Ika. I think it's really, really cool how you put that into perspective, right? On how it's not
Yeah,
really the technology that really shapes how the story is being told, but rather how we
yeah,
utilize the technology instead. I think
yeah,
that's really, really
yeah,
amazing. I think just to clarify with the audience, right, the difference between AR and VR. So from what I
mhm,
understand based on your explanation, AR is
yeah,
more like the Pokemon Go kind of thing, right? Where you can
yeah,
play
yeah,
it,
yeah,
right?
exactly. Yeah,
Yep, and VR is basically like those you like what you see in Ready Player One, where you are in this whole
yeah,
different world. Okay,
yeah,
very, very
yeah,
cool. It's so cool to see these two things come together to really,
yeah. So
yeah, immerse yourself in storytelling, right?
yeah, the
Amazing.
easiest way to differentiate those two is that if you could still see the actual environment, it most probably it is AR.
All
It could
right,
be
awesome.
XR, but XR is something I'm not super familiar with. But
I
yeah,
see,
so
I
basically,
see.
if you could still see your actual surrounding existing environment, most likely it's AR. And if you are surrounded completely by a different space, digitalized space, so it will be VR. Yeah.
All right, cool. Thanks so much for the clarification, Yikai. I guess moving on, right? So with this whole technology that we capitalize on for storytelling, I think something that we have to take note of is the fact that, some countries are more ahead of one another when it comes to technologies, right? There are these
Yeah.
developed countries that are really able to, have high speed internet and really have so much opportunities with technology. But then there are also other countries that are slightly behind because, of inequalities and they're just not as developed. So I think in your opinion, we wanted to ask you, right, as one of the pioneers of digital storytelling in Malaysia, what is your comment on the advancement of this field in regards to our nation's development?
Right. So yeah, I mean, I totally agree. So some countries where they are more developed, they are so far in front in terms of technology and stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, I would I would say it is still relatively new in Malaysia, this whole immersive technology thing. And AR is a lot more accessible, but not as much for VR and XR. So you see, for example, Pokemon Go, like most of us at least tried it or heard about it. But yeah, so AR is a lot more accessible to the public. But I would say that people here in Malaysia, so people are starting to get exposed more and more to immersive tech, and they are eager to try it out, and yeah, so people are actually interested, they are curious like how this whole immersive thing works. And so the company I'm working in, so MAITREE, we are actually one of the exhibitors of Georgetown Festival this year. And we are running this, we call it the XR Mentorship and Showcase Program. So what we do is that we provide the local artists the tools and the technologies they need to create digitally, whether it's VR or AR and stuff. So we provide the tools, we provide the support they need. And then we pair them up with those who have already been in this field. Although, like I said, it's still relatively new in Malaysia, but there are already quite some people who has been doing it for quite a while. Yeah. So both locally in Malaysia, and we get some of the one of the mentors is actually from Australia. So both is a international collaboration, I would say. So this mentorship program. So yeah, I think it's quite cool. And we also did, I pretty sure I mentioned this to Lok Yang and Vishnu in our chat previously. So we also did an online art residency last year with, yes, it's about the same concept. So we provide them the headset to create VR stuff, you know. So yeah, I would say we got a few applicants from the local artists. So I think the interest is definitely there. And one of our vision is to really provide people that opportunities to try it out and have fun with immersive tech, you know, to make it more accessible in Malaysia, starting from Penang.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Hika. I think that definitely makes sense, right? Although the whole digital storytelling is still very, very new, especially to a country like Malaysia, it's very nice to see MAITREE, for example, utilizing our current resources to really try to facilitate the diffusion of immersive technology within the storytelling community or even like within the whole nation. So, I mean, it always starts small, right? I mean, companies like you go through festivals on like using the internet to really spread awareness about this as well as offer mentorship for people. And I think that's amazing. And the fact that I think maybe in Malaysia, right, in my opinion, I feel that, yeah, like what you said, the interest is there. It's just that people are not aware that we are already sort of capable in doing it. It's just a matter of how we accelerate this in the future. So yeah, amazing. Thank you so much. I guess this
And
also brings, yeah, please.
no, just want to say on that as well. So I think making it more accessible is really important, because for example,
Definitely.
the VR headset is not super expensive, but it's not that cheap as well. So
I
for
see,
example, as an
definitely.
artist who is, who might have interest who might be interested to try it out, but you're just not quite sure whether you should just spend that money and get something you might
Definitely.
or might not like it. So yeah, I think that it's great that we are just trying our best to provide the people that opportunities to try things out. So if they like it, great. Yeah, maybe they will proceed and get one themselves and share it with friends, and eventually more and more people will get the chance to try it.
So when it comes to the storytelling, I would say we always relate it to the classics, right? Things like arts. But then the whole concept of digital storytelling is not just that, because we also have the concept of technology embedded into it too. So understanding that, based on what we already know, which is the fact that arts and technology are two fields that are highly distinctive from one another, your work, however, is a fusion of both arts and technology. So in the future, within your own career scope, do you think that there will be more career opportunities that are a blend of both arts and technology?
All right. So as you mentioned in the start of this podcast, so I'm actually from an illustration background. So I used to work in the gaming industry. And yeah, I would say in the art and creative industry is really ever changing and challenging. So with the rate that softwares and technologies is being developed nowadays, so you always have to just keep yourself updated as a digital artist. So although the I need to clarify this, like although the value of those traditional paintings will always remain, and there will always be artists who prefer to create art traditionally. But yeah, nowadays studios around the world are already using different types of digital technology to develop, for example, their games, their film, animation, or things like that. But I think if your question meant technology as in immersive tech, then yeah, I would say that I can definitely see that wave is coming, because especially in the gaming industry, like nowadays a lot of the gaming developers, the big one, in China, Japan, US. So those big gaming developers, they are already looking into VR for their next big game title. So yeah, I would say when there is that demand in the production, so it will for sure, result in creating more career opportunities for people out there. Yeah.
Definitely. Thanks, Yikai. That is very relatable to how things are right now. I think last time or a few years back, there's always this emphasis on people focusing a lot on STEM and really trying to advance STEM. There's so much focus on sciences, but as we move forward with the future, and I think as we progress, there's really no one field that we want to advance in, but there are so many opportunities that are diffused together, like arts and technology. And I think because there are new demands coming out every year, I mean, our interests change and we move forward with the future. So it's definitely great to see how, things like gaming and, even the concept of NFTs also, I believe, are sort of a fusion of arts and technology itself. And it's great to see that, this is something that we can look for in the future, at least within like 10 years down the road, for example. So yeah, I guess last question, right?
All right.
Before we end this whole thing, we've talked a lot about technology, and we've also talked a little bit about like the current landscape here in Malaysia for digital storytelling. But I think we wanted to know a little bit more, right? Understanding that the concept of digital storytelling is very intriguing and exciting. So we really wanted to know, how do you think digital storytelling could actually bring positive impacts and add value to our society?
Right, sure. So I think there are a lot of potential that how this digital storytelling could bring, the extra values and so on into the society. But I think the one that I'm most interested in is that it it its role. So the role of digital storytelling could play in education, in the field of education. So I think by integrating immersive tech into our traditional textbook, for example, so it could bring a whole new experience of studying, right? So something that is fun, exciting, and interactive. I think that would definitely make the path of, or the process of gaining knowledge and a more enjoyable one. So for example, we could use immersive tech like AR to integrate digital visuals. It could be simple animation or audio elements, to support the traditional textbook materials. So I think most people would agree that like the most of us as human beings are visual learners, and not to mention that some research also shows that students learn better when they are more engaged and interacting with the content that they are studying. So I think the combination of interactivity and engagement with emotional, like how we talk about storytelling, kind of evoke different emotions for people, right? So yeah, I think the combination of those plays a significant role in helping students or learners to remember what they have learned a lot easier. So I think that's just how our brain works, I guess, right?
Agreed,
And
agreed.
yeah. So personally, for me, I'm not like the biggest fans of history study. So history subject is one of the subjects I don't really enjoy. But with that in mind, like just for example, just take that history subject as an example. So let's say the topic is about World War II. So interactive content will definitely inspire more empathy in an individual in that kind of topic, that kind of setting. So the same thing can be applied in other subjects as well, like sciences, engineering, and many more. Yeah, so I think immersive tech could potentially really change the whole learning experience for the students. So which is why personally I'm always looking forward into how people could, or I would say like colleges and unis, they could start to, you know, integrate this whole immersive tech into their courses. Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much, Yikai, for sharing that with us. I think it's amazing how, we started this podcast with firstly, identifying what exactly immersive technology is. And then we looked into AR and VR, and we also delved a little bit into the current landscape of how AR and VR is in Malaysia and how it is overall. And, understanding the basics of this, in the end, we looked into what exactly would be the impact of digital storytelling and how it could potentially, change the whole education landscape for us. And I think this is such a nice way to wrap everything up. So I guess, yep, that's it for today, folks. And that's a wrap. All the members of OT Podcast would like to sincerely thank you, Yikai, for being the speaker and our guest of honor for today's session. We would also like to thank all the audiences who are currently tuned in to this episode. We hope that today's session with Yikai has proven to be beneficial and insightful to all of you. If you would like to listen to experiences and stories of other key individuals in their respective paths, make sure to hit the subscribe button below and the bell icon to be notified each time we release a new episode. If you would like to be part of the OT Podcast community, do follow us on our social media pages. All the links to our pages are listed in the description below. With that being said, thank you, Yikai, and see you all in the next episode. Until then,
Thanks
take
for
care
having me.
and stay safe. Thank you.
All right.